Hello, football fans, and welcome to this week's episode of View from the Sideline podcast. Is this the weekend where Liverpool are handed the Premier League title? Has Manchester City dropped points again with defeat at home in the Manchester Derby? Leicester now seem their only serious rivals after leaving Villa Park with all 3 points. We'll look back at these matches as well as all the other action from the Premier League. We'll also review the weekend's matches in the EFL as West Brom and Leeds continue to lead the way in the Championship. And Chris will give us an update from Hewish Park as Yeovil take on Halifax in the National League. Pete will have his teaser, we have a record breaker in the Predictions Challenge, and Chris dusts off his stat book for the wonders of white. So here we go with episode 15 of View from the Sideline podcast. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 15 of View from the Sideline podcast. As always, it's Rich here. And are you sulking, Chris? Are you sulking today or not?
No, through in the Champions League, mate. I cannot be any happier.
Okay, we should have done this yesterday before that result. Then your answer would have been very, very different. Yeah, I think it would have done. Okay, so there's lots to get through this week. So lots of talking points in the Premier League. And obviously, we've got Champions League matches tonight where Spurs are playing Bayern Munich in a dead rubber. So we'll keep you updated with how they're getting on. But I think we've wounded the beast, so to speak, Chris, with Pete and his teasers.
I've seen this teaser and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
I'm not going to get it.
So, for the purposes of fairness, we do know what the teaser is. We've just heard it a matter of minutes ago. I don't even think you could Google this because. It's so long. It's so long-winded.
Yeah, I don't actually know how we're going to find the answer, but I'm sure.
I think the guess you did with Sean Goater last week has annoyed Pete a little bit. So current score is 4.5 to us because we've moved to half points to please Pete, and he's got 5. So go on then, Pete. What have you got for us this week?
Since Danny Wallace in 1986, 3 players have played only once for the England senior side and scored. 1 in 2003, 1 in 2007, and 1 in 2012. Name all 3 players.
Yeah, told you, he's annoyed.
Well, considering I wasn't even born. I wasn't even born when this Danny Wallace.
I've got no idea.
Scored, so.
I'm wondering if it's a sort of Saints-based. Danny Wallace was at Saints. I wonder if Laetitia. I don't know. I'm just wondering if Laetitia is one of them. But anyway, so three players that have only made 1 senior appearance for the England team, and in that game scored. Okay, so we'll have to come back. I don't like our chances, but we'll have a go.
No.
So we'll move on past the teaser and we'll go straight into Premier League review, where I think we should start in Manchester. So we'll start with the derby. Man City losing out to United at home, 2-1 to United. I think it's probably a bit indicative of City's form lately. I mean, I thought they probably would have won this game, but I don't think it's a huge surprise they didn't.
No, I think from the get-go, Man United kind of went straight at them, which is, I think, really the only way to approach Man City, I think, especially when they're at home. And maybe the actual fixture itself, kind of pumped the players up a bit more. Because I thought Man United outplayed Man City for the majority of the game. And it was like you were watching sort of Man City football, but being played by Manchester United. They were passing the ball around really well, and probably one of the best performances I've seen from them, I think, this season. But yeah, no, a very, very good win for them. But for City now, It's strange. They seem to be a lot worse than what they were last season. I didn't
are they out
expect
of the
this at
title
all.
race?
Well, I think that's it now. The amount that Liverpool are winning, considering they've only dropped 2 points, I think, all season. I just can't see Liverpool losing 5 games, which is strange because we've still got over half a season left. So, but I think if Man City keep going the way they're going, I actually think that Pep Guardiola might actually leave at the end of the season. I don't think he'll be sacked. I think he'll leave.
It would be an interesting one. City take on Arsenal at the weekend, and I think that's a really pivotal game. I mean, it's probably worth pointing out that City have won tonight in the Champions League. That they've won 4-1. Away. So I mean, they've topped their group. But I think the match at Arsenal, especially how Arsenal got on at the weekend, I mean, it gives them a bit of a lift. We'll talk about that later on. But that's a huge match for me because I think, like you say, 14 points. That is again Liverpool drawing a lot of games or losing 5, and they haven't lost yet. So trying to imagine them losing 5 games is a bit of a long shot at the moment. So I think it could all be over this weekend if Liverpool get another 3 points and City drop points. But I think in this game, I think from a Man United perspective, it's probably the first time this season that they've come off the back of 2 really good performances. They did play very well against Spurs midweek, and there's been a lot of talk about United. So they are the only team to have taken points off Liverpool. They've beaten Man City, they've beaten Chelsea, they've beaten Spurs. So they have beaten and won in these big games, but it is the other game. So when they're drawing with Villa, they're drawing with Sheffield United. That's what's cost them. And I'm not wholly convinced that this is a new dawn because I think we've been here before with United. But from the game, from a City's perspective, they were very heavy with possession, but didn't really create a lot. And they don't look. I'd say over the last sort of 4 to 5 weeks that they have changed as a side. I don't necessarily buy into the whole it's about Laporte being out and Sane and Aguero and that they've got good enough players and a deep enough squad to not be 14 points behind Liverpool.
It's what did you think of the handball by Fred when the ball was crossed in and he kind of his arm he was on the I know he was on the floor.
Yeah, I mean it's clearly hit his hand. I think I would probably agree with the decision that was given. That I mean his arm's not in an unusual position considering he's sliding. It's not as if he can move his arm out of the way. I mean if I was a City fan, I'd be the complete opposite. I'd be ranting and raving about that.
Well, Pep Guardiola wasn't very happy about it. But...
Well, no, and I can understand that. I mean, just on your point about him possibly leaving, I think it all depends on what happens in the Champions League this year. I think if Liverpool win the title and City go on and win the Champions League, then I think it's like almost all is forgotten. The league, the fact they didn't win the league doesn't really make much difference. But I think it all hinges on the Champions League this season. But if he goes, I mean, who are they going to get in? Who are they going to get in that's better than him to push them that little bit more and almost rebuild the team, if you like, to catch Liverpool? There's no one better than him.
He's managing Liverpool at the moment, so I don't think they'll get
Well, crikey, I mean that would be one of the biggest, the sort of biggest switches in football history. Yeah. But yeah, United deserved it. I don't think we can argue about that. No. Talking about another team that thoroughly deserved their 3 points, Tottenham Burnley. So I was on the Isle of Wight at the weekend with my family, and I was talking to my dad about this, and every time I gave him a score update, he would always say, but they're going to lose. They're going to lose. When they were 4-0 up, they were going to lose 5-4. When they were 2-0 up, they were going to lose 3-2. He's got limited faith in Spurs. But, I mean, let's look at the game. I mean, so from a Spurs point of view, I thought that the clean sheet was a huge bonus. That's 9 points from a possible 12 now for Mourinho. It was a disappointing performance against United, but they were the better side. They did deserve to win. From the thing that I'm most pleased about from a Spurs point of view, apart from the clean sheet, is we actually look a real threat going forward. And I know Burnley aren't in the greatest run of form at the moment, but like I said last week, we're playing with the same squad, but we look dangerous. We look like we're going to score goals, which we didn't when Poch was there.
I was very impressed, not going to lie. Pains me to say it, but I actually thought, the build up to all of your goals really was really good. And Son, for me, his solo goal from obviously his own half. Yeah, the defenders probably should do better, but probably one of the goals of the season so far.
There's going to have to be a hell of a goal to beat that.
Because
you very, very rarely see that a player runs from just outside their own box into the opposition's box. I mean, if he'd missed that, that would have been
a waste of time.
A waste of time. Yeah.
I do have a question for you. It's kind of a. I know who I would choose in this situation at this present time. But if you had to keep one and sell one of Son and Kane, who would you keep and who would you sell?
I'd keep Kane.
You'd keep Kane.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, as good as Son is, and as a consistently high performer as he is, Harry Kane is probably, if not the best striker in Europe. And I know that Spurs have struggled this season, but you've only got to look at the stats. I know England don't always play the toughest opposition, etc., but you've still got to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah,
and I think he's already on 20 plus goals this season, in all competitions and international as well. I would never want to see Son go, but if I had to choose, I would choose Kane.
Interesting.
I just think he gives Spurs that he's a constant threat. Son is, like I say, as consistent a performer as he is. Harry Kane just carries that greater threat, but maybe he carries that greater threat because Son is supplying him. I don't know, but. From a Burnley point of view in the game, there's been a lot of Burnley fans who are getting pretty frustrated with Sean Dyche. I think the thing is they're coming off the back of 3 straight defeats, and they've only scored 1 goal in those 3 games. And I think they've conceded 11 or 12 as well in those 3 games. So I can kind of see where they're coming from, but I think Spurs just played that well that Burnley looked poor. I don't think Burnley are a poor side.
No, defensively, I think is probably where they may look at in January. I think, obviously, I said about Son's goal. I think they should have probably done a little bit better there, but I think they'll probably be in the market for another defender in January.
Yeah. Spurs go away to Wolves on Sunday, which is going to be a big test.
Tough game.
I think, from my perspective, I think it will give us a really good idea of where Spurs are at the moment.
They're in great form as well. So
yeah, absolutely. So it'll give us a good indication of where they are under Mourinho. So, but I mean, you win 5-0 at home, you're never going to complain. Speaking of winning, Everton.
Everton, no beating them at the moment, is there? Another fire, aren't they?
Another struggling side who Chelsea dropped points against.
It's good job we accumulated all those points at the start of the season.
Absolutely. My first question to you, Chelsea's defence, is this their Achilles heel?
Well, yes, that's what to say. It's the thing was last.
I thought you were going to say.
Last.
I thought you were going to say pathetic. I thought you were going to
Wow.
say it's pathetic.
Well, they were pathetic on Saturday. They were pathetic. All 3 goals, I think, could have been stopped in one way or another. But last night in the Champions League against Lille, Rudiger was back, and he made Zuma. It just made him and Zuma look a lot more solid than what Zuma has been with Tomori or Christensen. So with Rudiger coming back, hopefully it will assure. But obviously the ban's been lifted now, so I still think that they will probably sign a defender in January. I think, as most people have probably said already, I don't think they'll feel a need to be buying 5-6 players in January. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they'll want to kind of break the squad up, as obviously they've been playing so well at the moment. So I think maybe one defender.
The interesting thing is that there's a lot of talk in the press linking Chelsea to Zaha and Jadon Sancho, which surprises me, to be honest, because I think where they probably need to strengthen is at the back. I mean, whatever money they've got available to spend, if you're going to go out and spend upwards of 80 million, because let's be realistic, I expect either of those are going to cost around that, if not a little bit more. I mean, there's talk of a lot of figures being bandied around of like 100 million for Sancho. If you're going to go out and spend that sort of money, or you have that sort of money to spend in your Chelsea, surely you want to spend it probably where you need to strengthen more, which is at the back.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't
agree.
I don't think that's problem. I think that's their problem.
I think Sancho is a target that I think most Premier League clubs will probably be linked with between sort of now and the end of the season. To be honest, I think he's having problems in Dortmund. I've read some stuff saying that he's kind of fallen out with the club in some way. I think he was disciplined. I think he turned up to training late or something. I'm not sure what it was, but
Zaha's the one that I could see happening personally.
Yeah, I think the main thing is a left back. I think Azpilicueta is good at left back. He's probably the best choice at left back we have, and he's not even a left back. So Emerson and Alonso are okay, but I think there's better out there. I'd be looking maybe at Chilwell. I think he'd definitely be a good addition to the squad, but it's whether you can kind of get him to leave Leicester to come to Chelsea.
He's not going to take a step
down
to go to Chelsea.
You're going to have to pay in an excess of probably 60-70 million for him as well, because obviously
I think he's worth it, but I can't.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, like, obviously with Man United paying 80-odd mil for Maguire, it's just pushed the price up of every English defender there is out there. So
yeah.
Blame Man United if you want to blame anyone, but on the game itself, they were crap. I'm not going to lie.
So let's not focus on how bad Chelsea were, because they were terrible.
Yeah, but Everton weren't much bad. They weren't much.
Well,
okay. They've been better than what they've been, but I wouldn't say that they.
I think from the Everton perspective that there's more unity. This is what always sort of interests me about football, that a lot of people have been saying about how involved the crowd were, how there was more of a link between the crowd and the players and the performance and all that sort of stuff. And the first question that gets asked is, well, why weren't they doing that under Marco Silva? So, but who goes in at Everton? Would you keep Duncan Ferguson? Would you keep him for this run of fixtures that they've got up until Christmas, where everybody thought they would just be on a hiding to nothing in each game? That they've showed that they can beat a top side in beating Chelsea. Yeah. But does he stay? Realistically, who else comes in? Who goes to Everton?
Emery was the one that's been heavily
that would be ridiculous. Surely that would be ridiculous.
Because I can't. Obviously, I'm not sure if you saw, but Ancelotti got sacked last night from Napoli.
Bayern Munich have just scored. Just to sorry, cut in.
No, that's fine. I think Ancelotti will probably end up at Arsenal, to be fair.
I agree.
Emery is a good shout, but I don't think he'll want to join Everton, to be honest with you. But
I don't know. I don't know why you would put someone who has failed enough at Arsenal to get the sack. That what is different that makes him that he's going to succeed at Everton?
The thing is for Everton, they've
madness.
They've spent so much money these last 2 seasons, and they're actually worse off for it. I thought Duncan Ferguson had a good. I think we played them at the wrong time. I think him coming in is probably you getting that extra 10-20% out of the players and what they were probably doing last week at
we're going to move on after that pitiful excuse as to why you lost, because you played them at the wrong time. Right, okay, so we're going to go to Villa Park. So Sunday's game, Villa-Leicester. I actually watched this.
8 in a row. Club record.
I watched this game and I was so pleasantly surprised by Leicester. There's no secret how well they've been playing this season. And going away to Villa, on paper, is a tricky game, especially when you're Leicester and you're in a position where you want to keep that title race alive. Whether they're going to win it or not, we won't know. But one thing that I absolutely love about Leicester is how, even when they're under pressure and the goal is under siege, the possession is all being held by the opposition. They're so solid, and they defend as a unit, they defend as a team, but teams are always so worried about getting hit on the break because they've got so much pace and so many good attacking players. And I mean, from a defensive point of view, that they've got the best defence in the league. There's only 2 teams that have conceded less goals than games they've played, and it's Liverpool and Leicester. So there's no coincidence there that they're the 2 that are top of the table.
I'd say
good defensively.
Obviously, going forward, you got Vardy now. This calendar year has got 27 goals in 34 games. I was a bit surprised because I thought when Villa scored, I know scoring just before half time, I thought they might come out and give it a bit more of a shot in the second half. I was quite disappointed with them, and I thought the whole Mings situation was a really strange one because obviously he was clearly injured, but they seemed very hesitant to bring him off, and it was kind of him on the floor. Out of position for one of the goals.
Well, I mean, the first goal, he was pretty much just a spectator.
So
you could actually see him on the replay, sort of just saying to the other defenders, "I can't run."
It was just very strange because it was probably 5 minutes before that the initial sort of injury occurred, and whether it was him saying he thought he could play on or whether they just were just testing to see if he could stay on, but kind of cost him a goal there. And I thought Villa were quite poor. I am slightly worried for them now. I think there's been quite a few games this season where I think they've had chances. But I think they had the chance in this game pretty much. I think it was Trezeguet in the first sort of couple of minutes.
Yeah, I think when he hit the bar.
Yeah.
They hit the bar very early. I mean, I don't worry about Villa so much, and I think mainly because they've got goals in them. They do score goals, and I think that they're, without sounding contradictory because they lost at home, I think their home form is good enough and they will pick up points away that I think they'll be okay.
They just need to keep Grealish. I think I think someone may put in a cheeky bid in for him in January. Maybe,
Spurs. I'd love to see him at Spurs.
They really do need to keep him. I think without him, I think they would be in trouble.
Okay, so Leicester still very much in the title race, but the team at the top, Liverpool, so went to Bournemouth, won 3-0. For me, this is just same old with Liverpool. They are just winning. There's no drama, there's no fuss. They're just getting the job done. And these games where you think they may slip up just seem to be going past. I mean, going to Bournemouth is not the easiest place to go at all.
No, but
they come away with a 3-0 win. The games are running out where they can slip up.
I just didn't think Bournemouth offered that much. I think Bournemouth got this completely wrong. I think they sat back far too much in this game, and they just invited Liverpool forward, and I thought the defending wasn't great, but
goal! Sorry, Spurs have scored. Sorry.
Settle down.
This Champions League.
Is Kane playing?
No, Ryan Sessegnon.
Yeah, because I seen that Kane didn't travel. I think there was a few players didn't travel. But
no,
he was one of them.
I'm on the verge of bursting into my Mourinho song. So sorry to cut you off
quickly.
Bournemouth.
But the back heel from Salah for Keita's stabbed home finish, I thought was the pick of the 3 goals. But
Salah's goal last night was pretty handy as well.
Yeah, but same old. And I think we'll probably be saying that for the majority of the season, to be honest.
If we go back to the beginning of the season when we made our predictions, so I actually tipped Bournemouth to go down, and I'm not sort of anywhere near gloating the fact that they're struggling.
Oh no, but you're not going to be far off there.
But let's just see. So they've taken 6 points from their last 10 games, and in that is only 1 win and 6 defeats. So you can work out that the other 3 points came from the 3 draws. They're just dropping like a stone. But the question I'd have on here, and bearing in mind you've got Pellegrini at West Ham that's under pressure, you've got a vacancy at Arsenal, you've got a vacancy at Everton. Eddie Howe is pretty much linked with most jobs in the Premier League, and there's always been talk about him going to a top 6 side or top 8 or top 10 or whatever. So you know where I'm going with this. Is it time that is this the best time if he's going to go and a club wants him? Would this be the best time to go? Because these jobs aren't going to come at.
No.
We're in a bit of a unique position in the Premier League where there's 3 or 4 jobs that are up for grabs, whether there's a manager there or not.
I think for Eddie Howe, I think the time is probably now. I don't think there's going to be a better time to maybe step up to that. The thing is, for me, is would he go to Everton over Bournemouth? I'm not so sure, and I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that Arsenal are setting their sights on Ancelotti, especially now he's been sacked. It seems no coincidence that for some reason he's been sacked after they won.
I think he would go to Everton, and I think it's not just this. It's a bigger club. It's got more history and all that sort of stuff. I think Everton is probably an ideal club for someone like Eddie Howe, and I think that he was constantly linked with the Arsenal job, or has been, and he was linked with the Spurs one as well. But I could see him at Everton. I think that would be the more logical choice than going to Arsenal if he was to be offered the Arsenal job. But it's almost like jumping ship when Bournemouth are struggling, isn't it? So I just think I know he's young and he's English and there's an awful lot going for him and he is a good manager. I just wonder whether these jobs are coming and going all the time, that whether he's going to miss the boat on it or not. I don't know.
Maybe,
I don't know, but
I don't think that any Bournemouth fan would begrudge him for wanting to move to that.
No, they probably wouldn't. No, they probably wouldn't. But yeah, anyway, comfortable win for Liverpool. So off to St James's. So Newcastle beating Saints 2-1. So
Newcastle goalie was on fire. I mean, he's
a decent keeper.
God,
he's a decent keeper. This is sort of Saints all over for me. So they're coming off the back of 2 wins. They've got a point away at Arsenal. They're getting themselves out of trouble. They're 1-0 up in this match and they end up losing. And by the end of the weekend, they're back in the relegation zone.
It's the Andy Carroll effect, mate, for you. You bring him on, you score goals.
Well, I still think he's got something to offer. But he has got something to offer.
His cross was amazing.
He's a good player and he's on a pay-as-you-play deal, which is probably exactly right for him at the moment. But Saints, for me, and this is sort of in relation to what I said earlier about Villa, that they score goals. Saints don't score enough goals for me. And I know Danny Ings is on a bit of a decent run of form this season. He's got quite a few goals, but that is it for me. You don't really see goals coming from anywhere else. And
no,
this is one of the questions to you on this one is around Steve Bruce and Newcastle. So Newcastle, they're in 11th place, and for the majority of the season, the early part of the season, he was getting a lot of sort of stick about he's not the right man for the job, etc., etc. Newcastle are in trouble. They're 7 points clear of the relegation zone, sitting comfortably in mid-table. Is he overperforming, Steve Bruce, or has he got this in his lock? I mean,
I think
he's an experienced Premier League manager.
I think he's like clawed it back from obviously how they started. I think probably at the start of the season, the expectation was probably to finish anywhere between 8th and 12th, I would say. So I think he's managed to claw it back. So I would say he's probably meeting the expectation of what the club set out. But I'd say like in the last few games, I'd say the players have seemed more of a team than what they have done previously. That Saint Maximin, I think, has put in some good performances in the last couple of games as well. So he seems to have come on a bit, because I thought he was pretty poor.
He's tricky and he's got pace. So
he's got
always
pace. Yeah, he's got pace. But I actually thought it was a bit harsh that Saints lost this game. They did have enough. I thought that they had enough chances to actually get something from the game. I just think that But
that's it for me. That they're not. Yeah, but
in good form.
They're not scoring enough goals for me. But yeah, so a win for Newcastle sort of cements their position in mid-table. We go to Carrow Road. Norwich
Sheffield United away. You ain't gonna beat them.
No, exactly. So just quickly on this one, a Norwich down for you? Is that it?
Yeah, I don't. They didn't really offer anything. Like it's like they beat Man City, and then this is that's going to be their highlight of the season. But I have to say that goal that Tete scored, that was a nice goal, and
was a good goal.
But Sheffield United, I thought, were a bit invisible first half. I didn't think they played great, but yeah, I think it was like normal service resumed second half.
The thing that worries me for Norwich is, and I mean, you're absolutely right. Sheffield United, when they play away, they don't lose very often, if at all. But these are the games for me that Norwich should be pinpointing to taking something from. Home against a fellow promoted side, that they should be looking to take points in these games.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
They can't rely on the freakish one-off result that they had against Man City. That's where their points are going to come from. They need to be taking points from these sort of matches, and if they're going to stay in the division.
We saw the first overturned red card in this game of the season as well. Baldock obviously sent off by the ref, and VAR said no, and he was like, "Come back on."
that won't console Norwich fans if they get relegated. No. They made a little bit of history. So we go to Brighton Wolves. First half, decent first half, going 2-2 at half time. Second half was a bit of an anticlimax, really.
It was like second half was end to end. It could have really gone either way.
Well, I think before the match, so the Wolves they've lost one game in their last 16, which was in the Carabao Cup. I think that was to Villa. So Brighton, kind of like Newcastle, that they're sitting quite comfortably in mid-table, and I think this will be a point that they'll be pretty pleased with. It'll be one of those points where it just keeps them ticking over. It keeps them sort of in or around the mid-table position. And the way Wolves have been playing at the moment, that sort of, it's another reason for me why I think Brighton will be pretty happy with that point.
Oh, definitely. I don't think either team defended that well, but then again, both teams were attacking quite nicely, I thought. But again, for Wolves, it's their attacking sort of. You got Jota, Jimenez, Adama Traore. They seem quite well balanced going forward, and I did quite like that in Wolves.
Yeah, good side. So London Stadium,
mate. I felt sure that West Ham were going to win this. I don't know why.
Well, talk about a 9-10 minute period that can literally turn your season around. There was a lot of talk on this one that if Arsenal were to lose, that some people sort of would consider them being in a relegation battle. I'm not sure that would have been purely accurate. I mean, they would have been a lot closer to the bottom than they are to the top.
They still weren't great first half. It was literally like 20-minute period in the second half where they actually looked like a decent side, but they still seem to have those bad habits, especially defending.
They're always going to struggle at the back. I think that they are poor defensively.
But
sorry,
I was just about to say, whoever goes in there, that has to be a priority in January. I think they'll want to get someone in before Christmas, and they'll want a clear idea of how they're going to sort that defence out. Because I think sort of their attacking is fine, but definitely they need 2 or 3 new defenders, I think, to sort that out.
Yeah. I think the issue with Arsenal, so I know we mentioned it earlier, I like Ancelotti, and I think, as much as I hate to say, I think he would be a really good option for Arsenal. I think that the problem overall for them as a club is they are run like a business. I don't think that a new manager's going to go in there and he's going to be like given a war chest to spend in January or in the summer to sort of completely rebuild the side. You look at the summer dealings where they were limited on funds by all accounts, and the majority of that went on Pepe on a structured deal. So I think their hands might be slightly tied. I mean, there's a lot of Arsenal fans that are talking about the issues being at board level, and it's not necessarily the case where it's the manager that's the problem. More, it's the restrictions that are being put on the manager, which is the problem.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I could see Ancelotti going there, and I could see him being a success.
I think this was what might put people off wanting to actually manage the club. I think even we saw it with Wenger, where it was kind of like you had to sell players to generate money so that they then could go out and buy players. But like you said, the whole Pepe deal is a structured deal. They haven't even completely paid for him yet. So, I think any manager that wants to go in there will have to really put their foot down to get some money to get some new defenders.
Yeah,
but we don't want no refunds on David Luiz.
I could see him going back. I think he'd be a.
Stop.
I think he'd be a good signing.
Let's not even go there. Let's move on. Watford Palace.
Yeah.
And let's move on.
For anyone who's interested, Crystal Palace played Watford at the weekend, and not an awful lot happened.
To be fair, Palace would probably be happy with a clean sheet and a point. Hodgson's probably
not against Watford. Not against Watford. I think both teams had chances. I think either team could have won it. Points aren't good enough for Watford anymore. They need to start winning. So that's all we've got to say on that. So that's that concludes the Premier League review.
I don't know Watford fans just tuned in to hear the review on their game.
Well, they should play more entertaining football and actually score a goal. I'm pretty sure they were last on Match of the Day.
Yeah.
And we follow the Match of the Day running order. So if anyone's got any complaints, direct them at the BBC. Not
Gary
us.
Lineker. Tweet Gary Lineker.
Absolutely. So that will do for part 1. We will be back in part 2 for the EFL review, and an update on predictions. Chris will do his stats, etc. So we'll see you then. Hello and welcome back to View from the Sideline podcast, part 2 of this week's episode. So we're going to kick off with the EFL review. So in the Championship, at the top, both West Brom and Leeds won yet again to remain in the automatic promotion places. West Brom beat Swansea 5-1 and Leeds beat Huddersfield 2-0. The wins mean both sides have now won their last 6 games, and there's an 8-point gap now to Fulham, who are in third, and they lost 2-1 at home to Bristol City. I did watch the West Brom Swansea game. They looked impressive. West Brom, they look really good. They look really good going forward.
And for Leeds, they need to maintain this, because last season, this is exactly what they did last season. They were winning games, and then they really dipped second half of the season.
I would see those. I would see West Brom and Leeds being the ones to go up. Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah. So that win for Bristol City against Fulham moves them up to 4th, and they're now level on points with Fulham. Nottingham Forest, they dropped to 5th. They got a point in a 2-2 draw away at Millwall on Friday night. They were winning till late on. Millwall got a late equaliser. Sheffield Wednesday, they make up the playoff places after a 2-1 win at home to Brentford. Sheffield Wednesday are actually playing tonight. They're actually, they're 1-0 up away at Derby. So going good at the moment. At the bottom, Barnsley, they remain rooted to the foot of the table after their 4th defeat in their last 5. They lost 3-2 away at Cardiff. Stoke lost their 3rd match in a row, and they remain 4 points from safety after going down 2-1 away at Hull. And the final relegation place is occupied by Wigan, who have not won in 5 and lost away at the weekend to Luton. So into League One, Wycombe, they remain top despite not playing at the weekend. They're 4 points clear of second placed Ipswich, but they have played a game more. Ipswich took a point in a 1-1 draw away at Coventry, and that keeps them 4 points clear of Peterborough, who are in 3rd. They drew, taking a point away in a 2-2 draw at Portsmouth. Blackpool, they're up to 4th. They won 3-1 at home to Fleetwood. Bristol Rovers, they're 5th. They beat Southend 4-2, and the final playoff place belongs to Coventry, and that's after they got their point at home against Ipswich. So at the bottom, there's no real change. Bolton, they drew 2-2 at home to Wimbledon. They're now only 4 points behind Southend, who lost 4-2 away at Bristol Rovers. So only 2 points from their last 12 matches now, Southend.
They were 2-0 up as well, weren't they, at the weekend?
They've let in 57 goals in 20 games. 57s, that's more than 2 goals a game. So they're 11 points from safety. MK Dons, they make up the relegation places, but they did get their first point in 6 matches with a 1-1 draw away at Doncaster. As normal with my League One update, Bolton, they'd be on 16 points. If it wasn't for their points deduction, they'd be 3 points from safety. Now, if I'm Southend, I'm worried about how bad they are, knowing that Bolton would sort of be 12 points ahead, and they've basically played most of the season with kids. Anyway, so on to League Two, Chris.
Okay, yeah, League Two. So there was one game called off in League Two. That's Macclesfield Crewe. Unfortunately, it seems that Macclesfield are in a spot of bother at the moment and could end up the same route.
He's suing
them. Yeah, because they owe him like I think it's like 850 grand they owe him. That's crazy money, isn't it? So
how much was he on?
Oh, he
did save him from relegation. So.
Oh yeah, and he was there for pretty much the whole season. But so if you're a Macclesfield fan, it isn't looking good for you at the moment. So I think it was more that their players refused to play rather than it was an sort of an EFL decision. So let's hope they get it sorted pretty quick. So leaders Swindon beat Grimsby 3-0 away, and second place Exeter beat Northampton by 3-2. Third place is Forest Green. However, they did fall to a 2-0 defeat to Scunthorpe. Cheltenham are in 4th. They beat Mansfield 3-0, and 5th are Crewe. 6th place Bradford beat Newport by 1-0, while Northampton remain in 7th. So at the bottom, Morecambe is still propping the table up. They managed to get a 1-1 draw with Carlisle, but unfortunately for them, Stevenage also picked up a point with a 0-0 draw against Crawley. So both teams are still on 15 points. Moving on to the National League. So Yeovil, despite having a man sent off in the 9th minute, they still managed to beat Halifax by 2-0. Which is
how bad are Halifax?
Well, they're actually in the top 7. So I was very, very surprised. So they won, and they actually played their game in hand last night. They beat Chesterfield by 2-1 away, so they're actually up to second now. So just a few points behind Barrow.
Promotion looming for Yeovil.
Yeah, I know they have. I know last sort of 5-6 games they have had a couple of defeats in there, but they are actually beating the teams in and around them, which is helping. So it's a strange one, the National League. Only the top team get guaranteed place, and then the other 6 teams go through some really
it's a funny playoff system, isn't it?
Of playoff, yeah. So hopefully,
you want to win it, basically.
Oh yeah, because God knows what can happen if not. So yeah, but good 2 wins for Yeovil. So yeah.
Okay. So we'll go on to predictions quickly. We've had quite a few rounds. I know where you're going with this. So
there's only one round that matters, mate.
we'll look at last week. So Jack was our guest for the midweek. Oh no, for the weekend matches. Sorry. So he got a very respectable, and he's come out third in the table overall, 21 points. Chris did take the win with 23. And I'm not sure I took part. I'm not sure I took part that week because I got a measly 3 at the
at least
weekend.
you had faith in Tottenham.
Yeah. But here we go. The week before, and this hasn't gone out on social media, more through sulkiness than anything else, Chris annihilated our record, where he took a score of 41 points. Now, not only is that a record for this year, this is a record since we started this feature, where the magical and mythical barrier of 40 points was broken. Where I imagine you were sat there with sweaty palms during the Arsenal-Brighton game to make sure there wasn't an early goal.
Yeah,
but you had Arsenal to win that, so if that had gone as expected. But anyway, we're going to brush over that. I mean, that is. Let's be honest. I mean, that's my fanfare for you.
Thank you.
Because it's probably deserved for such a high-ranking score. But I mean, from an overall. We're past that now. From an overall perspective, so Adam is still at the top with 26 points. That humongous score, Chris, has pushed you safely into the top 10.
There you go.
So it's done your average the world of good. So we will move on from predictions. We will never discuss it again, but we will talk about the wonders of white, Chris.
Right.
Do you have your phone with your stats on?
I'm ready.
And also pictures of your wife's outfits for the theatre trip next week.
Yeah. It's a long story.
As long as your stats are on there, that's all we're worried about.
So Arsenal came from a half-time losing position to win a Premier League away game for the first time since October 2011.
And they beat Chelsea, didn't they? On that occasion.
Right. Well, I wasn't going to mention
5-2 or 5-3.
All right, next one.
I wondered if you'd leave that bit out.
Well, that's just all that needs to be said. I didn't need to go any further with it.
Yeah, the stat is the stat, not who they actually be. Okay, fair enough.
Danny Ings is the first Southampton player to score in 5 consecutive Premier League games since James Beattie in 2003.
That's impressive. He has been in good form.
Yeah. Kovacic has scored twice in the last 4 games for Chelsea, and that's as many as he had in his previous 163 games for both Chelsea and Real Madrid.
Okay.
This next one's a bit of a mouthful, so just bear with it, okay? Liverpool will be top of the Premier League table at Christmas for the 5th time in the competition's history. However, each of the last 3 sides that failed to win the title after being top at Christmas have all been Liverpool. And that's in the 08-09 season, the 13-14 season, and the 18-19 season.
Well, records are there to be broken, aren't they?
Well, yeah.
So
I cannot see them
there's
messing it up this time.
there's going to have to be an almighty collapse if they don't win it this season.
I don't think they've
Good
ever been
stats,
this.
though, Chris.
Oh yeah, I don't think they've ever been this far in front in any of those seasons.
No,
so,
I don't think so. Yeah, okay, so good stats. Again, you are the stat man.
I even managed to squeeze a Chelsea one in there, even though they had actually lost.
Yeah, you don't normally tend to put a Chelsea one in when they lose.
But I thought Kovacic was probably the standout player, so I thought, I'll put that in there. Right.
Okay, so oh god, so should we just end it now? Should we just admit defeat? I mean, I've got no idea.
I still don't know who Danny Wallace is.
There was brothers, weren't there? There was Danny Wallace, Rod Wallace, and Ray Wallace.
Ray, Rod, and Danny.
Yeah. Oh my god! Is this an education? That I'm pretty sure they all played for Saints. They were at Saints when like Shearer was there. That sort of the Draper Tools kit at the Dell. They were there. They were there around then. You don't know. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you? But I mean, it was in the mid '80s, mate. I mean, I was only 6, but yeah. So I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know. Do we just? So they've played. They've played for England once and scored.
The only player is Danny Wallace and Ricky Lambert. But Ricky Lambert played more than one game. No, he did play more than one game.
Right. What about Ian Wright? He must have played more than one for England. Colton Palmer, Matt Letizia, Mark Robbins. Was he English? We could be here all day. I don't know, mate. I'm gonna have to. I think we're going to have to give this one to
Danny Wallace in 1986, only 3 players have played only once for the England senior and scored. So, right, I ain't got a clue. I'll just go with Ricky Lambert.
I've updated Pete's score already.
All right. Well,
so
I'm on
I've
Who Ate.
Him.
Here's a little shout out for whoateallthepies.tv. I'm on your website right now looking at the answer.
So the answer got it from there.
So the answer is Stephen Corker.
Oh my days!
His debut goal against Sweden in 2012 was rather overshadowed by the efforts of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who rather stole the show by scoring all 4 of his country's goals.
That was show off. He used to play for Spurs, Corker, and then he went to QPR, I think.
Played for Yeovil as well for a season.
Everyone played for Yeovil, Chris.
David Nugent.
Oh my God!
Steve McLaren chose him.
I thought you were going to say Steve McLaren was the third one.
Steve McLaren chose him in a 2008 qualifier against Andorra as a replacement for Darren Bent. And the last one is Francis Jeffers. Sven Goran Eriksson fielded 2 different teams either half. Jeffers came on. It was a game against Australia.
Do you know what? It's weird.
They actually lost in 3-1 Upton Park.
Was that the one at Upton Park? Because strangely enough, I remember that David Nugent goal, and I remember that Franny Jeffers one.
Well, it was also the Francis Jeffers debut goal for England was also debuted. Wayne Rooney and Jermaine Genius made their debuts on the same game.
Well, there you go. Okay,
that was unfair. No, never would have got that. So.
Back to normal next week, please, Pete, because we didn't.
If you've got a Christmas-related one, that would be nice.
I mean, that's a good idea. As long as it's easy. Well, we need to build our confidence back up. Preferably,
who was the last team to not be top at Christmas and not win the league? Because kind of
Or on what date of December does Christmas Day fall? That would be a good question. Because we get that. It's not football related, but okay. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for this week. So anything else from you?
No, just happy to be through the Champions League. But I've seen the teams that we could face. And
it's nasty, isn't it?
Quite frightening, to be honest with you.
I think is it Barca,
Uh,
Barca, Juventus, Bayern Munich, PSG. It's someone else, and then Leipzig.
Yeah, I think it's Juventus was the other one.
Spurs must be in the same boat because they're 2-1 down now at half time. Spurs, they already had second place guaranteed. They couldn't win the group.
So,
we must be in the same position. So.
You will be, yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
So we'll see. Okay, so thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll speak to you next week.
See you next week.